Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Wrench, Ride, and Repeat. Today we're going to finish the shovel front wheel. It was flat. I took it off. The rim was leaking really bad, so I went out and got the tire reseated, and I got to looking at the rotors. And as you can see behind me, those are the old rotors, and here are the new rotors. So we're going to put some rotors on, and I think we're going to take the calipers apart and make sure they're lubed, right? While we're in here, while we got the wheel off, the brakes are off, you can take those apart without losing the fluid or having to re-brake them. And we'll just see what that does. So stick with me and we'll get right into it. All right, so the wheels. Okay, so after a little prepping and a little question to we all have a Harley god, so I texted mine. We got the wheel up in, we're gonna lift it up into place and run the axle through. Now before, I've always thought that you had to grease the axle, and you really don't, because the wheel doesn't spin on the axle, it spins on the bearings, right? So you can lube it if you want. Doesn't really make much difference to me. All right, what we got to watch out here, if you can see this, it's a cable speedo drive, right? And he fits in a little slot in the wheel hub on this side, and that's your spacer, right? So we can get him in here and find out where that notch is. There it is. All right, and then lift that in as your spacer. All right, get this side lined up. This is always a little tricky to do one hand. All right, there we are. It's run in. Down on my little stool here. All right. Construction in here without covering the bike probably wasn't a good idea. So, wheels mounted, wheel spins. Okay, I love these slider cap nuts, they're called. Right down here on the bottom, right? And they hold the axle up in. And they are 11 foot-pounds of torque. So, not much torque at all. I believe they're 7/16 or half. And they are a half. Yep. Come on, get up on there. You know what, I'm going to do this until we're ready to torque them down. There we go. So the trick with these is to get them even, so you don't have a bigger gap in the front right here than you do in the back, right? Right there, those aren't done. But on this side, the one I already started tightening up is already cocking that cap. So I gotta loosen up what I just sort of tightened down. And then tighten the one in the back up. So there's no gap. All right, now the gap's about the same. You can feel it, you know, pinch, or you can get a visual on it. So now we're gonna 1, 2, 3 halves. Get back on this guy. 1, 2, 3 halves, and he's getting snug. So I think that's gonna work out just right. Okay, so yeah, that looks good. They're nice and even. If you don't, and do not torque these down too much. Don't just use this. Get the torque wrench out and torque them down to 11 foot-pounds. You do not want to break off one of those studs, okay? That's a whole fork disassembly. You gotta drill that sucker out and replace it. It's a nightmare. So we're gonna go over here and do this side. How are we on this side? Okay, so that one's really loose. So I'm just gonna snug these up. Gap's about the same. All right, that's snugging. But I don't like that snugging because the back is still fairly loose. Yeah, see, they're both of those nuts are tight on there, but there's no gap here and there is a gap in the back. So you know what that means. All right, now the gap's about the same. So we'll give her, let me get on it. Give her 1 half. Maybe that was a sign. Do 2 halves. And 1 half. How are we here? Okay, I like that. That's snug. And that's snug. Wheel still spins. They're new brake pads, so that'll take a little bit for it to wear them in. All right, so I'm set for 11 foot-pounds. All right, everybody hold your breath so I don't break one of these studs off. This bike is only, you know, a million years old, so you never know. All right, everybody's had those jobs, at 30-minute job that takes 3 hours. All right, so just where I had those was really torqued well. It's my internal torque monitor. So we'll get over here. Come on, get on there. Okay, like I said, just a poop. Okay, there we go. Okay, there's 11 foot-pounds. There's the front wheel on. Let's hope I didn't screw it up here. And there's all the tire information. And drive that way. Okay, we're good. All finished. Boy, those new rotors just look fantastic. I'm glad I spent the money to do that. And the wheel's on, both sides, spacers in, it spins, it's torqued. I'd say that job's done, and we'll move on. All right, there you have it. I want to thank you for coming along. That video ended up being a little bit longer than I thought I wanted it to be, but hey, you run into problems and you gotta figure them out. You gotta solve them. So yeah, I'm very happy this is done. And you know, when I work on bikes, like this was a project bike, it was in pieces when I got it. Mostly just the body was off it. I like to start in the front and take care of the brakes, take care of the brake lines, like the speedometer, make sure all that's good, and work your way back through the bike. So the next thing to put on, I think, is going to be the horn, right? I tried to put it on once before, and it didn't really seem to fit where it was supposed to fit. So we're going to have to tinker with that one a little bit. We also have Lori's Bike's engine assembly coming up. I got all the parts finally. I found out that I didn't have the thrust washer for the cam bearing, or for the cam. That was definitely needed, but it wasn't in there. Let me think, what else? So we're going to put the cam in, the breather in, put the new lifters in, the lifter blocks, get them all torqued down to spec, and then we can put the push rod, put the heads and rockers on, put the push rods in, button it up, and kind of put the little stuff back together, carburetor and stuff like that. So hang with me. That's what's coming up, and I hope to see you on the channel soon. Thanks.